Okay, in order to fill out one of these kind of tables, I need to know a few things about subatomic particles in an atom. One important thing to know is that the number of protons is equal to the atomic number. And these numbers are represented on the nuclear symbol by this smaller number in the nuclear symbol, the one on the bottom right there. I don't know why that's going away. All right, so that means that, okay, well, if I know that the atomic number equals this lower number, well, then I can just go ahead and write 78 in it. I don't even have to really think. That's my atomic number. And I know that the atomic number equals the number of protons, so I just pop a 78 in there. That's the easiest one to get correct on a test or quiz or just to know in general. Now, the next thing we need to know is that the mass number is represented by this bigger number right here in the nuclear symbol. Okay, so if I want to prove the mass number, I literally just go ahead and write that in, 195 right there. Okay, now the next thing I need to do, I like to do next the number of neutrons. And so one thing you should know is that the number, the mass number is equal to the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. So protons and neutrons, those are the only two things in the atom with any mass, because remember we just assumed the electron has no mass because the mass is so small. And so since the proton and neutrons are the only things with mass, if you add them together, that's the mass of the atom, hence the mass number. So if protons plus neutrons equals the mass number, and remember on this problem over here, I have my number of protons, I don't have neutrons, and I have the mass number, well, that means if we do quick, simple algebra, let's see, it's 195 and 78, that means 195 is equal to number of protons was 78 on that last page, plus some unknown number of neutrons, right? Some of you are just going to kind of see this in your head right away, and others might want to write the algebra out, and that's fine. Well, how do I do this algebra? Well, I'm just going to subtract 78 from both sides. Minus 78, minus 78. And the number of neutrons is going to be equal to 195 minus 78, and in my calculator, that's 117. Or in your head, whichever way you want to do that math. All right, so that was 117. I have 117 neutrons. So if you need the number of neutrons, you can just say, all right, well, the number of neutrons is the mass number minus the number of protons. Now, electrons, there's another equation for electrons. I like to just see this in my head. So I know that the charge of the atom is caused by the number of protons compared to the number of electrons. So if there's a positive charge, that means you have more protons. And if there's a negative charge, that means you have more electrons. And since there's a +2 charge right here, this is a +2 charge. Whoa, that's a +2 charge. That means I have 2 more protons than electrons. So, I mean, well, I have 78 protons. If I have 2 more protons than electrons, I must have 76 electrons. Now, if that didn't make any sense to you, that's okay. I can show you another way to do it. We can do it algebraically. Okay, so if I had, let's see, I remember that I had a charge of +2, and well, here's the thing. So the protons, here's your equation. Your protons minus your electrons is going to be equal to the charge. Okay? And before, you knew that you had 78 protons, so that minus some unknown number of electrons is going to be equal to, we had +2 there before, remember? That was +2 right here for charge. Okay, so I've got 78 minus the number of electrons equals +2. So how do I do this math? Well, I have to first, I'm going to subtract 78 from both sides. Don't let the negative sign in the middle fool you. I'm going to minus 78, minus 78, and I'm end up with, well, negative electron. The negative number of electrons is going to equal negative 76. And then, so what I do there is, well, I don't want these negative numbers, so I can multiply both sides by -1, and that would end up getting me the number of electrons equals 76, which is what I put in already. So that's how you do those. If you need more help, come see me.